Hello, and welcome to YCFT. This week we're doing another old versus new. This is actually going to be a two-part video. Well, we're assuming it's going to be a two-part.
It needs to be.
It needs to be. I'm saying I don't know if it might even get pushed to a third part. We will see. We are talking about Stephen King's It. In particular, we are comparing the 2017 and 2019 feature films with the 1990s miniseries.
Yes.
Now, you have read the book, haven't you?
I have read the book.
Yeah, I've also read the book.
Yeah.
Very long time ago.
Yeah.
We'll draw a few comparisons with the book, but let's be fair. The book is it's a 1,000-page book.
It is. It's over 1,000 pages.
Yeah, it is a doorstop. Yeah. You could use this book as a murder weapon.
That's very true.
So any adaptation has to take.
It's up against it.
It's up against it.
Sure. Yeah.
But also, a kind of a comment I made while we were watching it when talking about the book is a theme throughout this is that the town seems to forget the kids that go missing and evidence of Pennywise. And it's because of like the mystical element of them.
When you leave the town, you forget the events as well.
Whereas by the time you finished it, because it's such a long book, you've forgotten most of what happens
you
in the beginning.
You forget your brain just literally.
The book gives off the same effects as the film.
Yeah, that's very true.
This first part, we are looking at the first episode or first part of the miniseries and the 2017 It. So we're looking at the children's side of the story.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, the miniseries, which was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace.
Yeah.
Who also directed Halloween 3 Season of the Witch.
Which we love.
Which we love. You can check out our video comparing that with Halloween 2.
Yes.
In regards to Halloween sequels. It was originally intended to be about 8 to 10 parts long.
It was originally, and George A. Romero was attached to direct at one point as well.
But for TV, that was totally unrealistic.
Yes.
So it got condensed down to about 3 hours. We watched 8 hours worth of Stephen King content between the miniseries and the two films for this video.
You know what? I loved every second of it.
I loved every second.
It's a long slog, but I really love revisiting these characters and this story.
And the 2017 movie, which I think as a child, I always assumed that this one, the 1991, was a film. I think because I never watched it on TV. I wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
I only ever had the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So now, rewatching it for the first time in the knowledge this is a miniseries, you can see all the TV breaks in it.
You can, for sure. Yeah, the fade to blacks and whatever.
The 2017 movie was directed by Andy Muschietti. And produced by his sister.
His sister, Barbara Muschietti. Yeah, kick-ass producer.
And I really like him as a director. He's not actually done that much. Before this, the only thing I'd seen was Mama.
But he's good with horror.
He is good with horror. Like Del Toro saw that in him from the Mama short that he did, got him to do a feature film of it. And I believe he's now directing the next Flash movie.
He is, I think, yeah.
He was an interesting choice, but I think a very good choice.
Yeah.
So, do you want to give us a little bit of backstories on the miniseries?
On the miniseries, okay. So the miniseries, it goes into development in the early 80s, and originally, like David was saying, it was envisioned to be like a long series, probably about 8 to 9 episodes. Inevitably, that gets cut down. It's split into 2 episodes. It's for ABC. It had a budget of $12 million, which even for its time was okay, but obviously it was very much restricted. They were very much restricted as to what they could do with 12 million. And also, there were a lot of network-imposed restrictions as well. One of the biggest being that you could not show children in peril. You could not show any kind of children in jeopardy.
You know the story about a clown that kills children?
That literally eats children and drags them into the sewers? Yeah, so that was a problem. And one of the things, like, we noticed it when we rewatched it recently, is that in the miniseries especially, a lot of the kills are off-screen. You don't see the Pennywise attacks necessarily. You don't necessarily see Pennywise kind of living up to his full potential, I guess. There's a lot of zoom, like, close-ups of Tim Curry's face.
When he goes monstrous,
when the teeth come out.
Static.
Yeah. So it was their way around it, I guess.
Yeah, for the time, it's still a really good watch, and it's a good portrayal of the story, especially the kids. Tim Curry as Pennywise, like, he will always be iconic. He is more a traditional clown than Bill Skarsgård's 2017 Pennywise.
He is. I think Tim Curry brings about, like, there's a playfulness to his Pennywise, and the way he interacts with the kids especially, it is kind of mischievous, and it's more
meant to
like
be
the circus
a
clown.
background character, something that can go unnoticed.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, it at the time when it was produced, it was in a way sort of pushing certain boundaries, I guess, because it is still, I guess you could argue whether it's scary today, in today's time, but I mean, it is still a fantastic series.
Kind of watch it, it kind of feels more like a psychological thriller than a horror to me. But like, a lot of the book is like that.
Yeah. I mean, as like we were saying, the book is literally 1,000 pages long. And yeah, you've got the core essence of the story, which is these kids that are being attacked by this evil that just likes to personify itself as a clown. But there's so many other like little stories going on, little subplots. There's loads of characters in the book that never make it into any of the adaptations. And it as a story overall is very cosmological in the end.
It spans an entire summer. Like
it does.
Like just on their part of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, the basic plot is about this shape-shifting clown. Well, it takes the form of a clown because it's a mix between it's appealing to children, but also I think it just kind of likes it. I think it likes that persona, and every 27 years, which if Jeepers Creepers didn't steal that and change it to 23, like if they weren't inspired by
the hibernation
I'd be very, very surprised. It comes every 27 years to eat. And it feeds on fear. It can eat adults, but it prefers children. So it likes to scare them before it eats them. It feeds on their fear.
Yeah. Children have the most vivid imaginations. And so I guess on Earth in general, let alone Derry, the little town in which this is set, Pennywise pretty much has...
Shocking. Stephen King set something in Derry.
Set something in Maine. So yeah, Pennywise kind of has pick of the crop.
Yeah.
But it's very much, again, like Jeepers Creepers, I guess the more scared you are, the more it wants you. And whilst its preferred form is a clown, is Pennywise the dancing clown, it can and it will transform into anything.
Yeah.
To get that reaction out of you. So yeah, this was actually the biggest success of 1990 for the network as well.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because it is very good.
No, it had 30 million viewers for both of its parts.
Yeah. Should I go into the brief origin of Pennywise?
Do it. If you can, do it.
If we can. Both adaptations kind of condense it a bit because
you have to. This is it. It's the biggest, I don't know, like hindrance a screenwriter will have when it comes to this story. You can't fit everything in.
Yeah. So basically, at the beginning of everything,
the beginning of time, literally.
In the macroverse, there was a creature called the Other.
Yeah.
Who creates two beings, maybe for some company. The first being Maturin, who is a giant cosmic turtle. He was a creator. He creates things.
He's a benign
creator. He doesn't like conflict, so he tends to hide in his shell. The other creature that was created was the Deadlights. The Deadlights is its true form.
Yes.
That is a consumer.
Yes.
Its other name is the Eater of Worlds.
Yeah.
And they're natural enemies. One day when Maturin had a bit of a tummy ache, he vomited up our universe. Can you imagine trying to portray that on screen?
Hence Seriously. Why it's not on screen.
Yeah, it's not on screen.
We never see that.
And a bit, if anyone has read the Dark Tower series, I believe that delves into Maturin a bit more. Maturin is mentioned in the novel, but not in either adaptation. Because you just can't. It's complicated.
You literally cannot do it.
The Deadlights, eventually Pennywise came to Earth billions of years ago. Derry is basically built on top of its crash site.
Yes.
It came to Earth because humans are more creative.
Yeah.
It was one of the most interesting planets it came around, and it just stuck around.
And it just decided to stay.
Yeah. It's like a
all
buffet.
You can eat buffet.
All you can eat buffet for this creature.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is a very simplified version of this creature's origins.
Yes. I mean, it's a hard thing to get your head around when you read the book, let alone... Can you imagine trying to translate that on screen, though?
Yeah, I read this as a young kid.
I read this...
It took me a long time to read it.
When I used to commute from Liverpool to Manchester on the train. And actually, when you're on a train, it's a really good chance to read, and I used to devour like page after page of this, but it was the only way I could get through it. It's a tough book to read, and not necessarily in length, because I mean, I guess with any book, by the time you get past a certain point, you're so invested in it, but there's a lot of genuinely kind of disturbing scenes in the book, which inevitably don't make it into either adaptation.
Twisted them a bit to make them work for the adaptation. Maybe if they did the 8 to 10 part.
Yeah. As much as I love the 1990 adaptation, I think my biggest... I don't even really want to say criticism, but the most noticeable element to me of it is that it's very, very kind of twee. It's very... almost corny in a way, especially when we get to the adult side, which, you know, we'll get to in the... We'll deal with that next time. But the biggest strength is the children. The children
are in both
adaptations. These kids are fantastic, and I guess, I mean, casting is essential with any adaptation.
Hard.
But...
I don't envy Andy Muschietti having to deal with on his first big studio film.
No.
With an entire cast of kids, but he seemed to have got along with them really well.
Yeah.
And I know Tommy Lee Wallace, even if it wasn't necessary because they don't share any scenes together, he wanted to send the kids and their adult counterparts away for a weekend to spend time together so that they could basically influence each other's performance, which again, for a miniseries where they share no scenes together, that's an expense.
Yeah.
But it's essential.
It is essential. The Losers Club, you need to nail that casting, and these kids in the miniseries, it's so natural, the interactions between them. I mean, Jonathan Brandis, who plays Bill,
Stuttering Bill
Denborough. I mean, he especially is just fantastic. They have such a wonderful chemistry together, and I think one of the reasons why we love part 1, I guess, of the It story with the kids is there's just something so lovely about seeing kids just kind of being kids, innocent, and you know, like, in a different time.
Yeah, none of these kids have an easy life though.
I mean, how often do we see that across Stephen King stories?
Yeah.
Bullying, abuse, it abounds in. I mean, it's in The Shining, it's in Christine, it's in Carrie, it's in the Dark Tower series.
This is the antithesis of, I think I'm using that word correctly, of bad parenting. Not saying bad parenting, but because of the influence of it on the town. Parents kind of ignore stuff. I don't know if that's just Stephen King saying that as you're growing up, you feel like your parents are ignoring a lot of what new classes, or like what the issues you're experiencing as a child. A parent might not consider that to be a big deal. Maybe in the book, that's how he is showing that.
Yeah.
That Pennywise is making them not notice the pain that these kids are going through because fear makes them. Because these adults across both interpretations of it just ignore the kids. I think more so in the miniseries. That there's literally bullying that just gets ignored.
Yeah, they literally
like there's abuse.
Yes.
Even like Bill's parents. I know Bill. Like after the death of Georgie.
Yeah.
Bill's parents kind of like almost like wither away inside themselves.
They neglect him.
They neglect him, yeah.
They totally neglect him. They're just wallowing in their grief.
Maybe they do blame him for not going out.
Which is very similar to The Body, which inevitably became Stand By Me, the film adaptation, where Georgie, the main character in that, his brother dies, and the parents just are so consumed by grief. He's literally just kind of left to be by himself. So I think The Body in many ways is kind of a prototype for it. I think Stephen King even said that. But yeah, all of them in their own way are going through hell. I mean, you've got Beverly, who is... It's more kind of pronounced in the 2017 adaptation, but she's being sexually abused by her father.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, who is relentlessly bullied at school because he's overweight.
And he's a new kid. And I just want to say, like, Ben, he's not fat.
In the miniseries, he's not.
He's got a bit of chub. I was watching him like...
He looks a bit like River Phoenix to me, that kid. Like a bit of a chubby River Phoenix. I think he's dead cute.
It's quite ironic, the guy who plays Henry Bowers, the bully in the 2017 one, also looks a bit like River Phoenix.
Yeah, and also Chosen Jacobs, who plays Mike in the 2017 film, he's wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans, which is, you know, obviously a very generic outfit, but that's exactly what River Phoenix wears in Stand By Me. It's the same outfit. I've seen so much of River Phoenix in these adaptations. But yeah, I mean, all of these kids, like Stan, he's a little Jewish kid. He's kind of nerdy. He's into his birds. Richie, Trashmouth, Tozier.
Yeah, he's the jokester.
He's the jokester that, you know... He's
quite famous, played by Finn Wolfhard, who people will know from Stranger Things.
Yes.
He's played by him in the 2017 and 2019 adaptations.
In the miniseries, he's played by Seth Green.
Yeah,
which is a great choice. Actually,
I'd completely forgotten that he was in that.
Yeah, very, 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 very baby Seth Green.
Yeah.
And Mike, he's like one of the he might even be like the only black kid in Derry at that time. So of course,
there's racism.
He's a target for the bullies, Henry Bowers.
He's homeschooled in one of the adaptations. He's homeschooled in the most
in 2017.
In the 2017 one, but he's not in the 1990s one.
All of these kids are going through hell, and I think probably one of the biggest.
The overbearing Jewish mother.
Oh, how could we forget about Eddie?
Yeah,
Eddie.
I think he's Jewish.
I don't know if he is actually. I think Stan
is.
Yeah, definitely. Eddie, I don't know actually, but Eddie, he's a hypochondriac of the group. He has this very overbearing, very domineering mother who just, protects
wants to
him.
wrap him up in bubble wrap and protect him from the world. Doesn't want to have any friends. Doesn't need anyone other than her.
She's convinced him he has asthma, so he's overly reliant on his little
he's got pills
inhaler.
For everything.
Yeah. So all of these kids, in their own way, are there's not much going for them. Let's put it like that.
So,
but they band together.
Yeah. So should we? I've mentioned a little bit about the 2017 one. Should we go into a little bit of the origins
of 2017?
Because then I want to start comparing a couple of key scenes to set these two stories apart.
So interestingly, 2017 is 27 years after the miniseries is released. And if that was not deliberate, then that is one hell of a coincidence.
I think it's a little bit of both, because I know this was in production for a few years, and that's why it's like when you look, there's like 3 different writers on it.
Yeah.
That's just people coming in and out. I know there was another director attached at one point.
Yeah.
They worked on it for a while.
Yeah. So the budget for 2017 was 35 million, which is pretty substantial. Its for its box office was 701.8 million.
So it did okay.
This did pretty well, guys. The book is published in the 80s. The kids section is set in the 50s. In the miniseries, I think the kids section is set in 1960.
1960, yeah.
So by the time we get to 2017, the kids section is set in the 80s, the mid-80s. And when you go back to 2017... Stranger Things had been released the first season a year before. The 80s nostalgia was abounding.
Yeah.
Which I think was a huge part of why this film
was also like
pretty successful.
Then you can have the adult side
taking place in the modern day.
Taking place in the modern day.
Yeah.
Like, that also helps with the budget as well, because whenever you're trying to do a period piece, it's going to add to the budget. Being able to set like a lot of it in the modern day, it's going to keep that cost down.
Yeah.
But it also makes it more relatable.
It makes it more relatable. We get a really cool score in the 2017 one as well.
The score is awesome.
Yeah.
And again, Bill Skarsgård, I think, is a fantastic Pennywise.
So, Bill Skarsgård, who was, I think, only 26 at the time he was cast, significantly younger than Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Who was
also
in his
wasn't
40s.
the first choice.
He was not the first choice.
Because we only found out right before filming this.
It was Will Poulter.
Yeah. And he was cast, and he left the project when they changed directors.
Yes.
That interests me, because I like Will Poulter.
Will Poulter, again, very young guy. Which, I don't know, that just fascinates me. They went from someone who was, quite an established actor with Tim Curry, and again, he was in his 40s, to going very young.
I think maybe they wanted to make it a bit more... I mean, you can tell in the performance, they wanted to make it a bit more physical.
I think it was a genius idea.
Yeah. In fact, it's like Bill Skarsgård's like an acting legacy at this point.
Yeah, giants.
It's the fact that you can naturally separate his eyes a bit, and it's like...
He's also like 6'4".
Yeah, he is literally a giant. But again, kind of like Jeepers Creepers, they wanted to hide Pennywise from the kids as much as possible. Yeah.
Until it was absolutely essential they'd be on set together, the kids were not allowed to see Bill Skarsgård in costume or interact with him.
Is it Eddie? Eddie has the first scene.
Eddie.
Like, they've seen in the scope of the film, the characters had seen him prior to this, but the first scene one of the kids filmed with him was Eddie, the hypochondriac. With a great blend of like practical contortionism into CGI into Bill Skarsgård from like coming out of like a fridge or I'm like, that looks really cool.
It's a great little scene.
Yeah, there's a cool behind the scenes bit where he comes out, he's got his fake broken arm, and you can hear like Finn Wolfhard say to him, "Did you see what does he look like?
What does he look like?"
Like they had no idea.
No.
I heard in the past bit the Skarsgård saying that like the reaction you can see in the film, the reaction from Eddie is he's horrified. Like,
oh yeah.
And afterwards he's like, Are you alright?
Are you alright, Jack?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
He was just acting. He generally thought he'd just traumatized this kid.
Yeah.
But he just acted.
He is a fantastic Pennywise. A very different iteration.
Yeah, we go from like a more traditional clown to like Victorian-esque.
Yeah. The costume itself is very different.
Predator to me in this one. Like,
yeah.
There's
something more malevolent.
About him, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost kind of more childlike as well.
A little bit, like the voice to an extent.
Yeah, I love that. To me, the 2017 one scares me more than Tim Curry, and I love Tim Curry, and I have a lot of fun with his. Again, maybe just by the time I watched this, I'd seen scarier stuff, and I actually read the book before watching the miniseries.
Yeah.
So the book was scary to me than that. As much as I enjoyed the adaptation, Bill Skarsgård, when I saw it in the cinema, I was like, that's really fucking creepy.
It is creepy.
It's so creepy.
It is creepy, but I mean, we've spoken about how horror is always evolving, and
yeah, the audience had changed at this point.
Audience's taste have changed. You know, what people find scary has changed, and so similar to like other like superhero characters, I guess, and villains, you need to be able to adapt them. You need to be able to change them according to what is scary in society at the time. And I think where Tim Curry's where Tim Curry's Pennywise was brilliant in 1990,
it wouldn't work in 2017.
I don't think it would have worked in 2017. And likewise, I think what Bill Skarsgård did in 2017, it would have been too much for 1990.
Yeah. Interesting you brought up the Joker, because they did use Heath Ledger's Joker as inspiration.
For Bill Skarsgård,
yeah. For Bill Skarsgård, yeah.
Yeah.
I found quite interesting. You can see a little bit
I can see it, yeah, like the skittish kind of movements, and everything.
His movements are... So I want to compare a particular scene.
I want to compare quite a few scenes.
Yes. Georgie's death.
Yes. The iconic Georgie death.
It is great in the miniseries, but again, they are limited by not being able to show kids
in peril. Yeah.
Georgie goes out to play with a boat that Bill made. He's the little brother of Bill. And
little paper boats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The SS Georgie.
The SS Georgie.
And it's raining and storm. He puts it down on the road and it's going along.
Yeah.
Falls down a drain. He thinks Bill's going to be mad at him. He goes to try and get it, and that's when Pennywise, the dancing clown, makes his first appearance.
Yes.
Hi, Georgie.
Hi, Georgie.
I instantly want to go for Bill Skarsgård.
See, it's easy to do Bill's in a way because Bill...
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, thank you.
Ben Ravencroft.
Tim Curry. I don't know, he's doing like some kind of like Bronx Queens accent. It's very aggressive and like very New York. It's hard to do.
Yeah. Whereas Bill's like, hey, Georgie.
Hey, Georgie. Yeah. Like very much kind of, he befriends Georgie.
Yeah. I gotta say, I feel like if I was a child, I'd be more lured in by Tim Curry's Pennywise.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, I always find it interesting to say, kids like clowns. Like, is it mesophobia? Is it clowns?
No, it's like colorophobia or something like that.
No, mesophobia is something to do with chewing. Ironic for this scene. I don't like clowns. And a lot of kids don't like clowns. So it always baffles me that at some point clowns are considered a fun thing for kids. Because most people I know don't like clowns.
Did that stem from it?
Potentially. And other things in horror. Have you ever seen Clown, the film?
No.
We'll talk about that at some point because it's horrifying. Absolutely. That's about a dad who puts on a clown costume and he turns into a killer clown.
I think without doubt it set the ball rolling for scary clowns.
Yeah. I mean, potentially the origin of it in the book, Stephen King met with John Wayne Gacy.
Mm.
So
potentially,
yeah. So I would be more lured in by this realistic looking clown.
By Tim Curry's.
Then you see Bill Skarsgård, it's like, no, I'm not going down there. And you can see because he has to be more manipulative because kids are all instantly scared of him. So they're not trying to make out, this clown's really playful. It's like, no, they are afraid of him.
Yeah.
And there's a really good scene in chapter 2, which we'll talk about in the next one, where that is more obvious.
Oh, yeah.
So he's very manipulative.
Yes, very.
He offers him a balloon. He's like, the whole circus is down here.
Don't you want your boat? George, Bill's going to kill you if you don't come and get your boat.
He's to get his boat, and that's when Pennywise bites off Georgie's arm.
He bites off his fucking arm, guys.
In the miniseries, we cannot show kids in peril. So that's very much... It's just like
you see
a zoom in
of the mouth.
on the mouth, the teeth.
And it's implied.
Again, they use visual effects of the movie came a long way. So being able to show the distorted face, and he literally bites his entire arm off. and you see Georgie in pain, dragging himself along the road away from the storm drain,
screaming for his brother,
trail of blood behind him, and his arm just stretches out to drag him back in. It's like, they couldn't do that.
You can't do that in 1990.
Especially on TV.
No.
You can't show kids in peril.
No.
So they just had to cut away to the funeral after that. They knew they could do it this time.
You know, that opening, it is scary.
It's bleak.
I find it emotional more than anything. Just seeing that little boy. I mean, the actor who plays Georgie in the 2017 one especially, he was really, really good.
He's really good.
But just, seeing like his arm gone, and you can see like, the mangled bit of flesh where it was, and like he's screaming in pain for his brother. It just gets to me. Like every time I watch it, I just find it so heartbreaking. And that's how we start the 2017 film.
Yeah, it sets the tone for the rest of the time. All right, kids are in peril.
Kids are in peril, and we're going to show it. Yeah, and then we also get this really spooky, like variation of Oranges and Lemons, the nursery rhyme.
Yeah,
that always kind of unnerves me. Yeah.
One scene, another scene I want to compare is when Beverly sees the blood in the bathroom.
Yes.
So we also see it in the 90s miniseries with when Bill's looking at Georgie's photo album and blood's pouring out of it, and parents can't see it. Blood squirts out of the sink in Beverly's bathroom. She calls her dad in, like considering like the relationship she had. That's how scared she was that she would ask her dad. She
went to her dad for help.
He comes in. He can't see anything.
No.
In the 2017 one, they go full. I actually saw a little bit of Evil Dead in a lot of the blood effects in this. Like it's a great practical effect. Just I think they put a hose under it and just shot upwards. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street,
It's the Johnny Depp.
Yeah, the Johnny Depp scene.
The bed scene. That was, yeah.
So it's like the sheer amount of blood in that scene.
She is drenched.
Absolutely.
So is
both scenes are really good, but it's so visceral in the 2017 one.
Yeah, it is. It's done on a very different scale.
Yeah, and it leads to like. You can't do a film set in the 80s without doing a good montage.
Yeah.
A montage of them all cleaning up the blood.
Oh, to The Cure's 6 Different Ways.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
An amazing song. And actually, I've seen the 2017 film a lot. I absolutely love it. But when we recently watched it, I just kind of cottoned on that song, 6 Different Ways, great song, and it suits the tone of the scene. But also, with Beverly in the Losers Club, there's 7 of them. So if you kind of consider that song is sung from her point of view, 6 different ways, one of the lyrics is 6 different ways inside my heart. It could be like she's, like it's from her point of view.
She loves them all in a way.
There's 6 different boys that are now just close to her in her heart forever.
Or it could be a reference to the child orgy in the book.
Which also doesn't make it into either adaptation.
I wonder why. It's a blood pact in this one. Is that's how after defeating it, they become adults.
They become adults, yeah.
But in the book, they just all... They all have sex.
I know John Ritter, who plays adult Ben in the miniseries, when he was first brought on, he was the one who was like a really big Stephen King fan, and he went to the producers and was like, so are we going to bring in the orgy guys? Are we going to bring in the turtle? And apparently the executives were like, are you fucking insane? It's definitely like in pitch meetings, they have just like a checkboard of things that they are not going to include when it comes to adapting this story. I love that scene where they clean up the bathroom.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a few scenes I would really love to talk about as well. Ben and Beverly meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
Miniseries, it's very understated. They just kind of glance at each other in a classroom, and Ben is instantly smitten, and then he proceeds to write the poem. 2017. It's one of my favourite scenes in the entire film.
The New Kids on the Block scene.
The New Kids on the Block scene. Again, he's instantly smitten, and she goes to write in a scrapbook because it's the last day of school, of his yearbook, and there's no other signatures in his book. She is the only person to sign his book, and she cottons on to that. And the camera, like you see his eyes just above the book as she's writing in it, and he's just so in love with this girl.
Yeah.
I find it just so lovely, just so genuine. It's such a lovely scene. Oh God, it gets to me every time.
Well, it's like I was of the way the group kind of comes together in this. Obviously, Mike joins the group, so we have the core group of Bill, Eddie, Richie, and Stan.
Yeah.
They are the initial Losers Club. Then they know of Beverly because so Ben obviously becomes kind of friendly or knows of Beverly. They have that moment because then Ben starts getting chased by bullies. Henry Bowers.
He does.
In both incarnations, they're really good, but I think the 2017 one does Henry Bowers really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think the kid is fantastic.
Nicholas
and
Hamilton.
Like brilliant. So then they go to in the defense of Ben.
Mm.
So then the groups expand, and then Beverly having that link to Ben, she then joins the group later on, and then they save Mike from Henry Bowers again. Yeah. I just like how the group
evolves.
Builds.
Yeah.
And it's like they protect each other.
They protect each other. And also, again, with the 2017 one being set in the 80s, it allows for that little bit of like banter, I guess, that you can't really do when you set something back in the 50s and 60s. So these are kids that have that kind of 80s attitude. The comedy is toned up a lot in the 2017 one, which I adore. I mean, in particular, we've got the relationship between Richie and Eddie. So Richie is played by Finn Wolfhard, great actor. You've got Eddie, who's played by a kid called Jack Dylan Grazer, and their chemistry together is just fantastic.
Jack, he whenever you see him in interviews, he kind of looks like one of those kids that was born 50.
Yeah,
he just comes across as a much older person.
Like a little old man. I mean, some of the lines is like, "Hey Eddie, these your birth control pills?" And then Eddie's like, "Yeah, I'm saving them for your sister." It's just like these.
You couldn't do that in the 90s.
Absolutely, you couldn't do it. So Derry started out as a beaver trapping camp. Still is, am I right, boys? Again, there's no way you get that in 1990. Yeah. It's like the humour in this film is like
great. There's beavers everywhere through the town.
There's a lot of beaver imagery.
Yeah, because it was a logging town at one point as well.
It was a logging town, yeah.
There was also models of turtles everywhere.
There are turtles.
I wonder why.
A lot of turtles. It's the only way they could think
it's
to
the only
fit
way
it.
You could cause a turtle. The only way.
We got to talk about Stan.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned that you find Stan arguably the least interesting of the losers.
Yeah.
That's in the book as well.
We are spoiling everything. To me, the most interesting part about Stan
is
that he dies.
Is that he commits suicide.
Yeah, that is the most interesting part of his character to me. And I think it's an issue I have in the book as well. Even though you get to spend more time with him. We get to spend more time with him in the 2017 one as well. But we just don't get... I'm less interested in him than any of the other characters. And that's no offense to either of the actors to play him. It's just, you're in a group of kids and a lot of them are very loud, have big personalities.
Yeah.
The point of his character is he's very quiet, he's very controlled, he likes his birds. He's not a big personality, and that's the point of his character. But to me, that's a detriment because it becomes the most interesting thing about him is that he kills himself.
Is that he dies. See, I think one of the biggest strengths of the 1991 is how they intertwine the use of the adults and the kids. And that we see this in the first part. In fact, we actually start part one with the adults.
Which is how the book starts.
And they continue to intertwine the kids and the adults throughout both episodes, which I think actually is probably the best way to do it.
Which is an issue I have with... I love 2017. I think it's almost perfect. I wouldn't change anything about it. This is something that more leaks into an issue we have with Chapter 2.
With Chapter 2.
There's a disconnect between...
Massively.
The kids and the adults.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know the films were going to be popular enough to warrant a sequel.
Yeah.
Or it was going to make enough money, so they didn't film them back to back. So they hadn't cast anyone to play their older selves.
No.
So as much as I love the journey of these kids, even though they include flashbacks in the second part, there's still that disconnect. And that 90s has that advantage of cutting between the two of them. Because the story, the first part, it's almost told through flashbacks to them as kids.
It is.
And that's how the book goes. I genuinely believe there is you could make a supercut of the 2017-2019 one, make it one long film, splice things around a little bit to make it more flashbacky, and it would solve a lot of the pacing issues in the second half.
I think I agree with that. I definitely do.
But it's like, because the book, very early on, is Stan's suicide. Yes. So, again, how did they do it in the miniseries again? I can't remember.
In the miniseries, it's more drawn out. So we see the flashback of them, I think, doing the oath, and then we see Stan's segment where he gets the phone call from Mike, and we get that prolonged sequence of when he goes up to the bath. And I think in the miniseries, Stan's suicide is done so much better than it is in inevitably what is the 2019 chapter 2 part. Just because, again, it interweaves the flashbacks with the present day so much better. Well, so it kind of hits harder.
You have that issue of in the 2019... I know we're seeping into 2019 a bit. We have no prior relation to this adult character that we're seeing.
No.
So I think that's an issue that 2017 has. As much as the film itself is great, if it was just that one film, yeah, it would suck we wouldn't see the ending, but it's great. It's the effect that it has later on of having that disconnect with the characters, with the elder characters, that the miniseries does so well.
Yeah.
So they feel like the same characters.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I mean, I love the miniseries a lot, and I do think in a way that it has... there's more strengths to the miniseries than the film in terms of what it does, and just in terms of like the narrative and the non-linear storytelling. I think it lends itself to the book overall a lot better. But yeah, I think there is like a little bit of cheese to the miniseries, which you just can't really avoid. It's
charming.
It's charming. It's the time it was made, but also I guess the time that it's set in as well.
Stephen King was he really he wasn't going to let it air without seeing the first part.
Yeah.
They were still editing the second part.
Yeah.
But that's the bit he cares about the most, is the children's side of it, and he wanted to make sure they'd done that part justice.
Yeah.
Because if that doesn't work, none of it works.
None of it works. You need the Losers Club.
We need the Losers Club. Should we talk about the confrontation with
Pennywise? Yep. Okay. So, I mean...
the miniseries tried its best.
The miniseries tried. It tried, guys. I do. You know what I do like about the lead up to the final confrontation is when the kids in the miniseries, they're outside the... what is that like weird building in the miniseries? Like on the marshes.
Like basically a big storm drain.
It's like a big storm drain.
Like a sewer access for workers to go in.
Eddie takes a puff of his inhaler, and they all end up taking a little puff of the inhaler. Do you remember?
Stan's hesitant.
Stan is hesitant, yeah, but they all end up doing it as like a little, I don't know, like helps them with their confidence a little bit.
Stan, obviously, it picks out Stan.
Because he's probably the most scared,
Yeah, but also the bullies are down there as well. And they decide they
want
to go kill these kids, as you do.
Yeah.
That's life. I'm going to steal a joke. I'm going to steal a joke from Dead Meat here. That's what kids did before the internet.
Yeah.
Apparently. Stan gets the look in the miniseries, the closest look to its true form, the Deadlights.
Yeah.
You see him come through the pipe. I remember that bit in the book, and it's honestly, for the effects in the 90s, I think they did it really well.
Yeah.
And you get to see someone that dragged into it.
Yeah.
But when it goes after him in 2017,
yeah.
Because it's a painting, is it? Because they change a lot of the monsters that they're chased by in the 2017 one.
Yeah.
And I think it works really well.
I think it does.
Well. It helps differentiate between the two of them better.
It does. You know what else went in the sewer system in 2017? Obviously, one of Pennywise's sort of lines and sayings is, we all float down here. You'll float too. 2017, we actually see kids floating.
We see them floating, yeah.
It actually, I don't necessarily know why that is.
It's something to do with the Deadlights.
Something to do with the Deadlights, but we actually do see kids floating in the sewers, so that kind of has a little bit more relevance as well.
Chomping down on Stan's face.
Yes. Oh, the old woman, the woman in the painting that he's scared of. That's something that's not in the book, but Stephen King really liked that.
He really liked that one.
He thought she was creepy as hell.
It's a werewolf. Well, Richie sees the werewolf, but in the book, when it bursts through the pipe, it is the werewolf again.
Yeah, it is. I love the whole sewer system is great, because Bev has been taken in the 2017 one, and so it's kind of a rescue mission.
Yeah.
More than anything. And Bev has been kind of consumed by the Deadlights.
We can't comprehend the Deadlights.
No.
So it's like you almost go into a catatonic state. Then there's no guarantee that you can come back from that either.
The human mind literally just cannot comprehend what it is.
Yeah.
What they do.
That's just how small we are in the grand scheme of things.
So they go down to try and help her.
But in the book, Maturin talks to Bill.
Yeah.
And it's like a psychic battle of wills, isn't it, against
it is.
Pennywise to defeat him.
Yeah.
But interestingly, in the miniseries, they take him on with a slingshot and silver balls. Like, that is how, like in the book as well. But the reason they pick silver is because it took the form of a werewolf.
Yes.
And it's all about, you have to believe that you can beat it.
Yes. It's the biggest enemy of it.
Yeah.
It's the power
child's
of belief.
imagination and their belief. So they believe these silver balls are going to kill it.
Yeah.
Because they've seen it as a werewolf and they're going off the movies.
Yeah.
And it's a line in the later bit. It was like, sprays in the face, it's battery acid. Oh no, that is when they're kids as well. It's Eddie sprays his inhaler. It's battery acid, and it has the effect of battery acid.
Yeah, because he believes it will.
Yeah, and I love that idea of it, and it's a bit like,
again, it's childhood innocence.
Childhood innocence is what.
Yeah, these aren't kids with guns and knives. These are kids with, in the miniseries, it's a slingshot and some silver. What was it, coins or something that they melted down. It's like, these are things that they've got from films. Like, they're just using what they have, but they believe that it will cause damage, and so it does.
The effects kind of let it down a bit in that one.
When he kind of disappears down the drain, that doesn't hold up very well.
The better drain scene is, when Eddie's in the shower.
Oh, that's a good one.
That looked really... I like that whole sequence. Eddie... His mum doesn't want him showering with the kids because he'll get ill, but his coach kind of makes him because they got to be clean.
I do prefer the film's scene with Eddie where he encounters it with the leper.
The leper, yeah, because that's closer. He encounters the leper in the book as well.
He does at Neibolt Street.
Yeah.
The leper makes sense because obviously Eddie is a hypochondriac, so seeing this disease-ridden man is like that. Yeah, that would scare him. Oh, that creeped me. It's creepy as hell when I saw that, yeah.
In the 2017 one, it's like a cattle gun that they're going after him with. They believe that that's what...
Yeah, Mike's cattle gun.
But I like how they all... Again, we get Bill and George... Like, they use Georgie really well to try and detract Phil.
Heartbreaking.
Like, it kind of takes someone like a bit of a random goose chase through the sewers. It's, the way Pennywise pokes his head around.
Yeah.
And he goes away. It's like, oh... I love the way they use we see more of Pennywise than we do in the original one. But they all have to prove that they're not afraid of him anymore and take him on almost in hand. Whereas in the book, it's only Bill and Richie that will actually confront him in hand to hand.
Yeah.
They all prove that they're not afraid of him.
They all have a go.
And you get that moment where Pennywise feels fear for the first time.
He does.
He almost can't comprehend. Obviously... He feeds off it, but he's never felt it. He
actually flinches away, he backs away from Bill, where Bill raises the bat or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the whole build up to the sewer scene is great, and I do particularly love where Pennywise transforms himself into Georgie again as a way to manipulate Bill.
Yeah.
He's like, take me home. I want to go home. I want to be with you and Mum and Dad.
But Bill uses that to say goodbye to him, even though he knows it's not Georgie. Yeah. He uses it as a way to say goodbye.
Yeah. He's like, you're not Georgie.
And he has to shoot his own brother.
Shoots his brother. And there's this horrible moment where it looks like he has just shot his brother because it kind of lingers on his body for an uncomfortable amount of time.
Yeah. Oh my God, the actual dancing clown bit.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. I didn't even know that's something I needed to see in this.
It's great. It's something eerie about it.
It's because his head's not moving.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. And I was there and we see him he jumps down. But we get a first look at the deadlights there. When his face opens up and Beverly's just like...
Yeah. Calm.
It's so cool. Everything about that I think is fantastic.
It is. It's a great... I think 2017 did the confrontation better.
They could do the scale. There's a sheer scale of it.
They could, It's more it's the physicality of the scene. They all have a go, and then as they're all attacking Pennywise transforms
into various things to try and scare them.
He turns into Bev's dad at one point, but it kind of has the adverse effect because that then spurs her on to just whack him even more. And
but it's never in full. It's always partial. So it's
always in the clown suit, but just the head transforms. He transforms into the leper at one point and then vomits all over Eddie.
Yeah.
But then Eddie's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I do love Richie's line as well. He's like, welcome to the Losers Club, asshole.
Yeah. It's you feel for him, it's like, do it.
Yeah, it's the same with the rock scene as well, the rock fight.
Yeah, the rock fight.
It's great. Just that, build up of adrenaline.
Speaking of that, in Henry Bowers, I like how they actually, again, I suppose in TVs you couldn't show Henry Bowers killing his own dad under Pennywise's influence.
No.
But they do that because Pennywise returns a knife to him.
He does.
A really cool scene, like after his dad's obviously abusive to him as well.
Yep. Bullies create bullies.
Yeah. He sees a balloon in his mailbox, a little parcel, which in the book is the return address is the name something Gray. Robert Gray's.
It's another alias of
another
Pennywise.
alias. Like, at some ways, Pennywise has disguised himself as human or taken the identity of someone.
Potentially, yeah.
But he returns a knife that he loses earlier in the film and tells him to kill his dad.
Does. Yeah, you see it on TV as like a children's show, and the host is like, "Kill him, have a wonderful day, kill him."
It's like, I love in this how Pennywise manipulates just things around them.
Yeah.
He feels like a presence in the town always.
He's yeah.
I like it. Like, you have again like the production design of both, but like they did their best in the 90s.
Oh yeah, they did.
But the town feels like a character in this one. Like when you have the missing posters on top of missing posters on top of posters.
Yeah.
It's like the amount of kids that have gone missing that people just don't seem to notice. It's
yeah.
Like, to the point where they literally post over them with the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're all
you feel like he's always there.
Yeah.
Always has been.
There's a lingering unease over the town. And in both versions, actually, we do get a very quick kind of backstory as to, different events that have happened in Derry.
Yeah.
In the miniseries, it's Mike. He's got this scrapbook and he's been collecting newspaper articles about Derry over the years. And we actually get this really cool scene in the miniseries as well where the picture comes alive.
Yeah.
And Pennywise, like his hand reaches out through and they're all petrified of it. But yeah, he threatens them. But he threatens them because he's actually a bit scared at that point by the Losers Club. Like the power of the Losers.
Yeah. Because he never usually reveal, like in the past, he's only ever revealed himself when he's killing.
When he's killing them,
Like, it's very rare that they survive the encounters, which they all have at this point.
Yeah.
And
no other kids have ever gone looking for Pennywise. Yeah. Like the Losers have.
Interestingly, this is probably like quite sad, really. You'd think one of the issues of moving the time period is that the issues that of a book that's set in the 50s of like bullying, racism, sexual abuse, you'd like to think they would go away the further ahead you go. Like even like with the miniseries and moving forward, it's like this still works today.
Unfortunately, this is still relevant.
This is still relevant. It's like, that's when I was watching it, I remember saying to you, like, that's just sad that that's still relevant.
It's so true though. It's so true. I mean, even, like again, like there's a particular scene in chapter 2, 2019's chapter 2, and it's, the opening scene, and it's like, oh, this is a hard watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bullies always exist. And that's, it's just an unfortunate fact.
Yeah, bullies exist, racism exists, and sexual assault exists. They shouldn't, but they do.
Yeah, it fuels Stephen King's imagination, though.
Stephen King always portrays it in a really interesting way.
I think one of the biggest strengths of Stephen King, honestly, is his portrayal of friendship.
He writes kids really well.
He is phenomenal when it comes to writing about children. It's like, obviously this is a guy who is known for his horror stories, and rightly so, because they are fantastic. I think King is unparalleled in that way. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to writing for kids, it's something else.
Yeah.
He just captures friendship and like the magic of youth so well. But he's never condescending when he writes kids' dialogue. It feels natural to me. It feels like very kind of intrinsic, and I love it. I think it is truly one of his biggest strengths. It's why The Body is my personal favourite story of his. I just think it's brilliant. But yeah, if you had to say which your favourite is of the miniseries in 2017,
I probably would say 2017.
2017.
There's just more about it that creeps me out. I love the performance. Like I really like them both, but I've rewatched the 2017 one more, and that
I think it's a great adaptation.
Yeah, and that to me is like, if it's going to keep drawing me back.
Yeah.
It's like, I owned it. I bought it, watched it, I own it, and I enjoy it, but I'm not watching it.
Yeah,
I think at least once a year I watch 2017's It.
I love it. I went to see it loads of times in the cinema. Love it.
Obviously, it did really well. Do you have any more notes onto them?
I think just like kind of final thoughts. I mean, I watched the miniseries first because my mum really loved it, and I kind of grew up watching it in a way. Saw it a few times when I was a kid, but but I fell in love with the 2017 one.
Yeah.
I really, really did, and I will rewatch it often. And as much as I think the kids actors in both adaptations are brilliant, for me 2017 just kind of like wins out, I think, a bit. I mean, Sophia Lillis, who plays Beverly in 2017.
She's fantastic. And what's the name of the kid who I can't remember the name of the kid who plays Ben.
Jeremy Ray Taylor.
Yeah, he's also fantastic. He just has such an innocence about him.
They're brilliant actors.
They really are. Now, well, we know obviously nothing more Wolfhard's gone on to do quite a bit. I hope they all go on to do really good things, and I want the director to do more, because
I know
everything about it is just so fun. And
I think one of the biggest, not criticisms, but something people said when It 2017 came out was they weren't scared of it. They enjoyed it, but they weren't scared of it. They thought it was more almost like a weird comedy in a way. But I think in a way that's kind of a compliment at the same time, because it is horrifying. And even if it doesn't like jump scare you, the threat of Pennywise, the idea of Pennywise, you can't deny is horrifying.
The reason he doesn't go after adults is adults probably might not be afraid of a clown.
There is like a wonderful amount of comedy in the story as well.
Yeah. So a big part of the story is the friendship.
Yeah. And that's why that's where I think the strength of a lot of Stephen King stories are. It's like they're not always outright horrific. Pet Sematary is probably like the
that was a rough read.
Exception to that. But even when you read the book, there's a lot of genuinely like lovely moments between the kids. There's a lot of funny moments between the kids. It's like horror does not always have to be straight up horror. It doesn't have to be a scare a minute. It's like you can have light-hearted moments interwoven there.
Yeah.
It makes it feel more real.
But I think the biggest strength that 2017 has is it bigger budget, advancement in VFX to be able to actually portray Pennywise's abilities, and just our generation, we've been able to see more in a lower rated film than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time of this, I've recently seen Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, which is massively pushing what you can do in a 12A, which you wouldn't have been able to do even a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
This film, like the miniseries, it was massively limited by what you could do on TV at the time. And even like today, you can get away with a lot on TV.
You can.
And especially streaming, you can get away with anything.
Yeah.
So it's a very much a product of its time. It's a fun adaptation, but to me, 2017 is just great.
I think if it is ever remade, and I think it inevitably will be, I think it probably will become a TV series again, but they will do a longer mini-series of it.
Yeah.
And I would be very curious to see how that
because they are doing a TV series. It's called Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
The writer of... one of the writers from part 1, the main writer on part 2, is writing it. Andy Muschietti is directing the pilot episode.
Yeah.
That's all at the time of this recording. This was announced like a week ago.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2 weeks ago. Don't know if Bill Skarsgård is going to reprise his role. He wanted a chapter 3. He really wants to come back to play his character. So if you have, one of the most praised parts of both of these films, wanting to come back, you need to make that happen, because if he's not casting it, my interest in it might instantly just drop off.
I think that's a good point.
Because then again, there might be a massive disconnect between the prequel series and the films.
Fingers crossed for Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
Just one last question. Who's your favourite loser?
Who's my favourite loser? That's...
Does it change from child to adult?
Yeah. So I think my favourite loser is Ben. I really like Ben. And my favourite adult, it's James McAvoy. It's Bill.
Is it Bill?
Again, because I just think he's the best actor out of the lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ben is like, what about you?
For the losers, generally, I always say Ben.
Yeah, across both of them.
The adults is hard. I actually don't think I have a favourite as an adult, but Ben is my favourite.
Yeah. Is Stanley anyone's favourite? I need to know. I need to know.
Don't be mean to Stanley. He had a rough ride.
So if you were going to go for beer with one of them, you're going to pick for a beer with Eddie or Richie or Stanley.
To be fair, a beer with Eddie and Richie would be that's exactly. A night out.
Either one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's no offense. I feel it's just the way the character's written.
Although Eddie wouldn't drink alcohol, I don't think.
I think with the mother and the eventual wife he has, I think he needs to.
Yes, it's amazing he survived this long.
Yeah. So I think that's it for part Part 1.
Oh my god, yeah.
As you can tell, we are fans.
I love it. Love both of them.
We knew we couldn't do all of them in one.
No, this is a beast. Like, it's almost as intimidating talking about just the 2-part ones as it is, I'm sure, for the screenwriters trying to adapt it.
When it comes to what's actually in these films, there's not a lot. There's still tons we haven't talked about.
No, there's a lot.
And if you try and bring the book into it, jeez, like
it's just
it's impossible.
It really, really is. But I mean, we are hardcore fans of this.
Yeah, and
both adaptations.
I think going into the next video, I feel like we are both.
I think we feel the same.
Less praising of chapter 2.
Of chapter 2.
But we will get to that next week.
Next week.
So, thanks for stopping by. Let us know who's your favourite Pennywise.
Yes. And loser.
Who's your favourite loser across both adaptations?
Yeah.
So, we'll see you next week.